Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now August 26th of 2020, and ever since the very end of the Skywalker saga, a lot of fans have been very curious about exactly what both Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, the Disney CEOs, essentially are really going to do with this new Star Wars universe, the new expanded universe that's really going to involve TV shows, movies, books, novels, comics, video games, all together in one. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that they are going to be bringing back a ton of Star Wars Legends material. Now, the great thing about this is that a lot of the original stories from the 1990s and the 2000s will either be reworked or really accurately placed into this new expanded universe. And that's going to take a lot of time and effort to really do that the right way between George, John, and Dave. Now, the thing about the sequel trilogy, when we take a close look and examine the rise of Skywalker as a film, a lot of people had issues with characters like Palpatine and Rey and how that was all really established by Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams. Now, essentially, originally, we were supposed to get a far different version of the film before Kathleen Kennedy came in and deleted many of those scenes and changed many different aspects of the film. And it really does make one wonder what the movie could have been like if it weren't for Kathleen Kennedy really deleting so many sequences left and right during the first and second phase of reshoots and rewrites. Now, what's really exciting all has to do with what George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni all have planned to really introduce something very significant for the character of Rey Skywalker. Now, specifically, of course, with the rise of Skywalker now complete, both Disney and Lucasfilm have been focused on their new Star Wars trilogy of movies, as well as their new Star Wars universe. It's explained that creators like George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni are all hard at work on developing a better and brighter future for the Star Wars franchise around the world, where it's noted, however, that major changes are coming to the new Star Wars universe with major retcons and resets to a list of core Star Wars characters, including characters of Rey Skywalker. Now, it's explained that George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni are working on the major resets or restarts of the character of Rey Skywalker in Episode 9, where one major retcon coming as early as next year in 2021 is set to establish that Ben Solo lives within Rey Skywalker and that his essence and spirit is what makes her a legitimate Skywalker in the new Star Wars universe and at the very end of Episode 9. So once again here, this is something that's very original and unique for the Star Wars franchise, and something without a doubt that a lot of fans out there may very well reject or accept. Now, this is best described to be considered a new Force power created by Lucas, Favreau, and Filoni, currently dubbed as a Force fusion, where one's essence becomes a part of another without taking over the consciousness of that individual. Essentially, it's a reverse of what Palpatine wanted to do with Rey by using his spirit to take over Rey in the movie. You guys may very well recall that toward the very end of Episode 9, Palpatine says, my spirit will become a part of you, and, you will be Empress, we will be one. Palpatine wanted to take over Rey's body. He wanted to become one with Rey by taking over her consciousness. However, this Force fusion technique between both Ben Solo and Rey Skywalker, essentially Ben Solo's essence becomes a part of Rey, making her a legitimate Skywalker without destroying her own consciousness. It's a very interesting technique and power that is pretty much rooted from the power of the wills, and I can see where George, John, and Dave are going in order to really make her a legitimate Skywalker at the very end of the movie, to really make the title a little bit more respectful for Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, right? Again, they really could have made this a little bit more apparent in the actual movie to begin with, but what's done is done, right? So the reset does not end there with Lucas, Favreau, and Filoni aiming to completely change the origin of Rey's parents, however. They aim to make Rey's father a legitimate apprentice of Emperor Palpatine and the son of Sidious. Meanwhile, Rey's mother they plan to develop as a powerful Force user in hiding over in the Outer Rim that once met Luke Skywalker at one point in time in her life. The combination of her father being a Palpatine and her mother being a powerful Force user is what is aimed to make Rey a powerful figure in the new Star Wars universe. Not just that, but also it's explained that another major retcon is set to take place on the world of Tatooine, that while Rey is on this world, she is listening to Ben Solo reaching out to her and telling her that she is now part of the bloodline of the Skywalkers. Once Rey sees Luke and Leia, Rey listens to Ben Solo and calls herself a Skywalker, making her naming herself Rey Skywalker not a decision of her own, but rather directly from Ben Solo, which also is another big change for the character of Rey and why she calls herself Rey Skywalker. Now, the retcon will also establish that Ben Solo was not seen at the very end of the film because at this point in time, his spirit is a part of Rey and will eventually part ways in the new Star Wars universe in the post-Episode 9 timeline, set to debut in the next couple of years, where it's noted that this plan by Disney and Lucasfilm is to make Rey a more acceptable character to the Star Wars fandom in order to make the new Star Wars universe as successful as possible, in order to reach the same level of success as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which will take time and effort to get to such a level. This is also to create new stories of Rey Skywalker by having children in this new timeline for the fans to witness in the next couple of years, where George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni are already working on these major retcons for the character of Rey. So here's the thing about this entire scenario by Disney and Lucasfilm is that what they are essentially trying to do is that what they're really trying to do here is that they're really trying to make Rey a more relevant character and to really try and make her connected to the Skywalker bloodline. Let's go over to this Force fusion technique. Now, we haven't really had anything like this per se to this level in Star Wars Legends or in the old expanded universe. So this Force fusion technique essentially is going to be a brand new power where one's essence or spirit or whatever have you, a Force ghost, can become a part of a living individual to really make that individual a part of that bloodline. It's a very interesting scenario of what George, John, and Dave are really trying to push to really make the character of Rey a legitimate Skywalker in this movie. So once again, I mean, this is yet another major retcon, is that they're also changing the aspect of Rey's mother and father. I want to look at Rey's mother specifically because we've actually learned a little bit more about Rey's father in the past couple of days, is that how he's going to be the legitimate apprentice of Palpatine and son, as opposed to just a clone of Palpatine through gene splicing by making him a son in that sense. However, Rey's mother is actually aimed to become a powerful Force user that once actually crossed paths with Luke Skywalker at one point in time in her life, since she is a very powerful Force user. Really does make you wonder now, could she very well have been a Jedi student of Luke Skywalker at one point in time in the past? It's very possible, without a doubt. However, I digress. Making her a very powerful Force user in hiding over in the Outer Rim is a very interesting story. You know, we really did not learn all that much about Rey's parents in Episode 9, let alone the names of those characters. Which, by the way, is what J.J. Abrams and George Lucas were originally trying to do. They wanted to give those characters names, and Kathleen Kennedy completely deleted that concept and just wanted to make them very mysterious, and to leave it up to the fans wondering more and more about Rey's parents. And I think that, you know, when you mystify things too much to the fans, it just is a little too much. So that's what George, John, and Dave are trying to fix with these major retcons and resets for the character of Rey Skywalker. It's also interesting of how they are resetting this aspect of why Ben Solo was not a Force ghost. The scene at the very end of the movie is because at that point in time, he is within Rey, speaking to Rey, telling herself to call herself Rey Skywalker. That again is going to be another restart for the characters, that she didn't necessarily make the decision on her own. This was really something created by Ben Solo telling her to call herself Rey Skywalker. So it wasn't her own original idea to call herself a Skywalker. So with that being said, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.